Hey, everybody.
Hello, hello.
It's us. It is a special recap edition of Gather the Nerds. I'm Cav, that's Nick.
What's up?
We are back from Dallas
Yes.
a week ago.
We have recovered.
Most of the way,
Oh, I've recovered.
I think.
But I run on coffee and sleep.
That's true.
More coffee than sleep.
It's, we talked about it whenever, you guys saw us a bunch in Facebook Live. We did that quite a bit. And thanks for everybody for hanging out and,
Absolutely.
and commenting and whatever. But yeah, that's the thing. People don't really realize how exhausting a convention like that can be.
Yeah.
After 3 days.
And the thing is, it's exhausting if you're a fan. Like, if you're just going for you, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
If you go for you and you're trying to broadcast and you're trying to be mindful of content and that kind of thing, it's double exhausting. It's a good exhaustion. It's just, it's doubly exhausting.
Yeah. Well, before we get started, I want to give a shout out and a thank you to the vocal group. They are the ones who manage the press for Fan Expo Dallas.
Absolutely.
And so they let us come and cover the show this year, so we appreciate that.
They were super helpful, too.
They very well, yeah, they were. They, we made sure we didn't run afoul of the rules.
Yeah.
And we did that. But it was a good show. Like, we had, I was concerned about the crowd and things like that with the guest list. And
sure.
I mean, we'll just kind of start at the beginning. We'll just start at Friday.
Yeah.
Friday was super easy.
It was, and we got there late. That was the problem. We got stuck in traffic, and that never happens because we usually leave so early.
Yeah, we're usually like in Dallas by 11 or 12. The show didn't open until 2, and we pulled into the...
At 2.
At 2, yeah.
Yeah, but the crowd was super... Like, the whole process was very smooth.
Yeah.
In terms of movement throughout the con, the crowd appeared to be smaller, but I don't think it really was. I think it was just more spread out.
Yeah.
In years past, it's been pretty compact.
Yeah. I think the layout definitely changed, and maybe that just opens up, the flow. Because, like, even on, like, the retail floor, the main aisle, the main drag, basically, was super wide.
It seemed to be,
like,
for sure.
You could actually kind of get around through that, which was really cool. Because sometimes if a con is laid out wrong, it's just a disaster because nobody can get anywhere.
Well, and what was it, like 2 years ago when we went, the aisles they're wide, but it was so busy that you couldn't even move down the main area, which is the widest point.
Yeah.
I mean, you expect that the retail sides of it are going to be more narrow just based on trying to fit people in, foot traffic reasons, all that, because if you stay in one place long enough, you might find something that you like, There's a lot of aspects to it.
There's a lot of shiny things that get your attention along the way.
Exactly. And so, either way, but I agree, like Friday was very smooth. The layout was... For whatever reason, for me walking it didn't seem like it was very different, but I could tell that it was because it was very effortless to walk around, which made the whole process more enjoyable.
I think last year it was flipped, and the autograph alley was down a set of stairs.
Yeah,
same level, down
true.
A set of stairs. And that kind of, like, they had that right there, and they had the cosplayers right there. And I don't know if it was just the stairs or what, but it seemed to contain a crowd. Like, place was always packed.
It did.
And getting in and out wasn't very easy. But this time, it was a straight shot. Basically 3 entrances and exits out Autograph Alley and stuff like that. And, man, it just flowed. It just flowed really well.
Yeah, it did. It really did. There was never a huge traffic jam to get anywhere necessarily. I think maybe the only time that there was... The kids from It were signing and Zach Levi. Like, there were just a lot of big names signing in one area, which naturally caused a lot of people to be there. But other than that, it was very smooth.
And you saw, like, with the way that the con works, it is for the big names like Zach Levi or Michael J. Fox or any of those other people, they run tickets. They hand you a ticket and basically says, okay, these are the people now in line, tickets 1 through 300. And they go through those people, then they bring other people in and stuff like that. So it keeps the crowds, there's probably 3,000 or 4,000 people who want to get signed by Zach Levi.
Sure.
But you're only having to deal with 300 or so at a time. And so that makes it a little more manageable.
Yeah.
So,
which makes sense, too, if you think about it from a convention standpoint, is having a bunch of people standing around for that long gets kind of old.
Exactly.
People get tired, people get cranky, and if you give them the opportunity to kind of have a little bit of freedom with when they can reappear to get what they need, I think it helps out.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, did we do any panels on Friday? I don't feel like we did. I think we just kind of did the floor.
Yeah.
Walked through that, kind of got the lay of the land. We didn't do any panels. We did talk with Ripley's Believe It or Not. Mm-hmm. And so you guys saw most of that live, and we'll put that audio up also. But Ripley's brought this amazing display out with things that you don't. And here's the thing: if you're listening or watching this and you haven't gone back to our feed to watch this, you need to watch this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just because what we're about to tell you, you have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
Ironically. So yeah, there's a pun for you.
Yeah. But they brought in, the stuff you would expect from a Ripley's, the world's largest hairball. So you've got that. You've got there's a real Iron Maiden that you would put somebody in. There was a small elephant made out of tires. That
was pretty cool. When we saw it Friday, I didn't even realize it was made out of tires until the next day.
Yeah.
I don't know what I thought it was made of, but I didn't realize it was tires.
And you got the classic, the Ripley shrunken heads, and we got the explanation on how that actually happens.
Just pretty crazy.
It is very crazy.
Yeah.
So you've got that. You had the dog hair portraits, which I found hysterical.
Those were really cool. The fact that somebody recreates a picture of a dog using their own hair.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. It's a little weird, but it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. But what I always wonder too is let's say you have a dog and the dog is just an all black dog.
Yeah.
How do you do anything with that other than
shades of shades of shades, I guess. I don't know.
But the main reasons that we were over there, other than the world's largest hairball, was 3 or 4 things that they brought over that was pretty amazing. You had the whip from Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade.
From when he saved his dad.
Yep. You had that. You had Han Solo's blaster, which was amazing.
Yes, it was. It was very cool.
You had a hoverboard from Back to the Future, too.
Yep. A movie prop. These aren't just things that they've assembled. These are actually movie, I guess you would say, certified. Even down to the scene.
Yeah, they're hero props, basically. Screen used, bought from producers and whatever. But probably the coolest thing was Luke's lightsaber from Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, I gotta say that was pretty rad.
Yeah.
And the fact that they showed kind of how the hilt was made.
Yeah.
They had the camera next to it, had the flash on it, and once you kind of mentally take away the flash and the camera, there's a lightsaber hanging out right there.
Yeah.
It's really pretty neat how they used everyday products to just make things for movies. It's just pretty cool.
Like I said, because back, those movies, the budgets weren't super high. They weren't, no
3D printers.
Exactly. Yep. So it was, you look at a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff on Star Wars, and there's so much done with miniatures and things like that.
Yeah,
and so...
and the models of how they flew down the trenches in the Death Star. All of that stuff, it's all, when you see the behind the scenes of them filming it, you realize how small it really is, despite how big it feels when you're watching.
Yeah, the Death Star is probably the size of this table, and it's a miniature that's running through it, which to scale is much larger.
Right,
so,
right.
It's very, it's pretty cool, but seeing
Seeing that lightsaber was amazing, and seeing the blaster was amazing.
Yeah.
And seeing the bullwhip, just because those are things that our age group grew up with.
Yeah.
And so, seeing those things in real life, even if it was behind glass, it's like going to a museum in the middle of a con. It was really a pretty neat experience.
And kind of their thing is, they're trying to kind of bring Ripley's back into the new generation and our generation by doing these things. We know how much that lightsaber costs. That lightsaber was $550,000.
Yeah, no big deal. Chump change, right?
Exactly. But they're also doing it in the way of, there's a new Ripley show coming out on the Travel Channel.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty cool.
With Bruce Campbell. I'm just man, if you would have had Bruce Campbell at that booth,
that
would have been...
Our interview would have not happened.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
So that was really very cool.
Yeah.
And we had a great interview, and they kind of talked about the whole thing, and somebody I think we're going to try and keep in touch with over the over the months and whatever to come in terms of when they get new stuff and things like that.
Absolutely.
So they sounded pretty open to that, which was cool.
And I felt like the interview was relatively effortless because I was a little overwhelmed with everything that was going on. I wasn't necessarily sure how to really go about that personally because I'm seeing like grail items for me, so I'm kind of like fanboying at that moment. So I thought I'll just film, because I don't really know what else to say at this point.
Other than can I hold the lightsaber?
And the answer was already no. I knew that, so I wasn't even going there. But yeah, I mean, it was so cool because they were so welcoming. It wasn't like standoffish, like they were giving us their time out of pity or anything. I mean, it was a very great experience and very gracious of them to do so.
And it was very like you said, they're very welcoming. It wasn't like, here's my canned PR pitch for the new TV show.
No, she kind of let us just go whichever
direction we wanted to go. So that was a lot of fun.
And then you joined the
Hairball Club
of hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
A little bit off the beard. Only one person has ever cut my hair with scissors. That wasn't going to change. And so they got a little off the beard and gonna put that on there. So I'm part of. So basically, when the human race is cloned based off the hairball, there will be one of me somewhere, or me mixed DNA wise with somebody else. I don't know.
And see, now I've trimmed my beard, so I should have just let them do it.
But like to give people a full scale of it, it just disgusts you. So I cannot wait until the next Would You Rather.
It absolutely made me want to throw up.
I mean, that thing had to be
gross.
what 4 feet tall.
Yeah, and probably the same in diameter.
Yeah, so call it 3.5 feet.
I'm interested in how they got it as round as they did.
Yeah,
I mean, there has to be some structure there. But holy cow.
Yeah,
it was pretty gnarly, and I mean, I can't imagine what got me wasn't the fact that you were doing it. Like, I mean, it's one of those things that it's so interesting that someone would think to do that.
Yeah, and they had bought that from a barber somewhere in Middle America.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so it's interesting from the standpoint of like it's a weird thing to be interested about, but it is interesting. The thing that got me was we were talking. There was somebody else that was there and from Ripley's and was talking as you were going through it, and she just was saying, "I can't imagine how much it's going to weigh and what we're going to do when it has bugs." And I went, "Oh," because I'm thinking gross. Like I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah,
bugs, lice.
Well, I think I mean, it's got to be. They basically use 3M adhesive.
Oh yeah.
To put your So that thing is probably one structure at this point. I don't know that. I'm not sure how as many layers of 3M adhesive is on there. I'm not even sure how you could penetrate it. To be honest,
maybe not. I mean, that might be the saving grace. Is the fact that it's got glue instead of hair oils. But
that's true.
My question is, did it start out small and then grow, or you know what I mean? There's more to that story that we didn't get, and it's probably a good thing because I might have thrown up. But in general, I mean, it was pretty impressive, and people were doing it all week. I kind of wasn't sure how that was really going to play out, but every time we walked past it, I was seeing more and more people getting their hair cut and adding to it, which is, I mean, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty wild. There's a picture that they text me, I think, or emailed me something of them coveting. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Whatever. So that was Friday. After Friday, here's the thing: if you're coming to Dallas, if you're coming to the Dallas or Fan Expo Dallas, which you can see the lovely logo up there.
Yeah.
If you're coming to Fan Expo Dallas, the number one thing I can tell you is you have to stay at the Omni Hotel. You just have to stay there. Mm-hmm. If purely for the convenience, it's a little expensive comparatively, but not crazy.
I would agree.
If you want to be around the con, you're going to pay about the same per night hotel-wise. Mm-hmm. And the con always runs great deals and stuff like that on the hotels. Mm-hmm. But the Omni Hotel is the key to a successful Fan Expo Dallas.
I would agree. I mean, you cannot beat the convenience of being able to purchase something and cart it to your room.
Yeah.
And then go back to the con.
In the span of maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
and if you walk slow, maybe 30.
Yeah.
If you stop to go get something to eat or whatever.
Yeah.
But in general, just the sheer convenience of it, Yeah, you absolutely cannot beat that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it is something that we don't have with other conventions.
Yeah.
Dallas is definitely the only one that we go to where this is a convenience thing that
Yeah.
we
I mean, you're literally connected to the building.
Exactly. You never even have to go outside.
Yep.
And so that by itself makes the trip worthwhile, even if you only go for one day.
Yeah.
Stay the night, enjoy the convenience of it all.
Yeah.
It's an amazing opportunity to
Yeah.
to run into people that are going to the same thing too. That's kind of the other side. Like we bumped into so many people up and down the elevators and walk in and all that stuff. So
was it? It was Saturday night. When we get to Saturday, I don't want to forget about the guy going to the American Heart Association thing because I don't know that he quite understood. I don't think he was quite prepared for everything. We'll get to that on Saturday. So, Friday night we're done. We hit, like I said, there's food in the hotel. There's a great sports bar that you can go there. The food's good.
I mean, it's excellent. Yeah. Both restaurants are excellent.
Yeah. And more importantly, Saturday morning, pancakes, man.
Well, Cav gets pancakes.
The Texas griddle cakes I don't even know what this place is called. I just know where it is.
I think it's called Texas Spice.
I think you're right.
Because I looked at my debit card to make sure it didn't grow some other charges or something.
And so Texas Spice or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're going there, the buffet's good if that's your jam. But man, if you like pancakes, I'm telling you, like $11 for size of your plate Texas griddle cakes. Legit with fruit.
See, I think next year I'm going to have to try a meal to just bring the cost down a little bit because the buffet is expensive.
Yeah.
However, I'm fairly certain each time I go, I eat my fill of bacon.
So, yeah.
So I think it works out.
Oh, I think at the end of the day, I think you handle that. So, so that's the thing. Like when you're going to a big show like this, like we knew Saturday was going to be a long day, crazy. Like we joke about con fitness and con nutrition. Like it's a legit thing. Like you will get yourself in trouble if you don't
easily.
take care of it. And so,
because and sorry to interrupt, but I mean one of the aspects of it that you don't think about because you're inside is you are sweating.
Yeah.
And maybe it's only like a momentary thing that you recognize it when you're sitting in a panel room or something. You're like, man, I'm really cold. Oh, I'm sweaty. But I mean, you really are kind of dehydrating yourself. So one of the things that I think Cav and I kind of stumbled onto, it's been a couple years now, is while it's very easy to go with the sugary foods and all that, stay away.
Yeah.
Drink as much water as you can, some Gatorade if possible, and just try to eat as well as you can because having a Cliff Bar or something midday really kind of staves off a lot of headaches and different things.
Yeah.
Makes the whole experience more enjoyable.
And for a place like Dallas, where the show floor is fairly sizable, and by the time you go up and down every aisle, like what you're going to do probably 20 times in a day,
sure.
It certainly helps. And so we get fueled up for Saturday. We go, and we're wandering around. We're doing some stuff. Saturday was Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
So we had
which was amazing.
Yeah. So we did when did I feel like we had something Saturday morning? I can't remember. Did I have something Saturday morning? I did.
I think you did. I think you had Jim Lee.
No, I had the Transformers stuff.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Yeah, that was like mid-morning.
After, or somewhere in there. So we went to a panel with Jackson Opie from Sons of Anarchy, Ryan Hurst and Charlie Hunnam, and it was very entertaining.
It was cool to kind of see another side of them where they're talking about the show, but they're not the characters, even though... I would say in the broad range of actors that we've encountered at panels or at cons, they still very much look like their characters on Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's almost scary that their regular style is very similar to the style on Sons of Anarchy. And I don't think that's... I mean, I don't think they're doing it for the fans. I think that's just who they are.
Yeah.
It's just very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because, like, you see, like, a Zach Levi, and I've seen... other things of him, and it's just not the same. It's different.
So it was a very entertaining panel. They told a funny story about the Lexus that appeared to be driving itself.
Yeah,
a lady basically dropped something. It was not Elon Musk's Lexus. Yeah, basically a lady had dropped something and was reaching down and came across 4 lanes of traffic. And Charlie may have decided to hit her with his bike because otherwise she was going to hit him.
He was going to go Superman, and that doesn't work.
And so those are the kinds of fun stories you get in those panels. And so that was a lot of fun just to hear them talk. You can tell they enjoy it. Like Charlie, has done other interviews and stuff before and is very open about the fact that those types of situations, like cons and whatever, like up until like a year ago, those were not his thing. That is not something he was comfortable in or whatever. But he seems to really, I think he really seems to enjoy it. There was one guy who tried to figure out what happened at Houston Comic-Con with the Suns people. Unfortunately, we didn't get an answer to that question. I mean, we have a sense of what happened.
Sure.
Yeah.
No need to. To rehash all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
But they had a good time with it, and it was good. Their lines were pretty consistent all weekend for autographs and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
That would have been a pretty cool photo op. It's one of those things, like, looking back, you're like, man, that would have been a fun photo op with Jackson Opie. That could have been fun. They did. They were also telling a story about they were riding back from somewhere, and they basically pulled up next to two people who were basically cosplaying as Jackson Opie, like down to the white shoes and the hoodie.
Which is pretty funny.
That is very funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was that part of it. One thing that I did, which was amazing, and at some point you'll hear them, is I did a voiceover recording with Frank Welker and Peter Cullen for basically Optimus Prime and Megatron. Mm-hmm. And two separate things that you did, and watching them work, like Peter Cullen was Optimus Prime was very Optimus Prime, very professional, very businesslike, very whatever. He records, thank you, whatever, moving on. Like, but very nice. And then you go into Frank Welker. And, Frank Welker, more than just Megatron, he's Scooby-Doo. He's Fred from Scooby-Doo. He's Soundwave. He's any number of things. And there was another fan who came in from New Zealand, and he bought basically almost half of the voiceover spots for Peter Cullen, and like 8 or 9 of the 30 for Frank Welker. And I had the opportunity to be behind him in line for Frank Welker, so they brought us in small groups. So I just got to sit in the room, and so I just let people kept going in front of me in terms of line, because I just wanted to sit in there and watch him work. Because one of these things that the guy from New Zealand had him do was like, it's Megatron and it's Soundwave and it's Trailbreaker. It's like all of these people, and he's just flipping between these voices like it's nothing. And Frank Welker is not a young man. Like, he's not like ancient, but he's probably 60s, 70s. And just watching him flip between all of them, I told him, I was like, man, I would have paid money just to sit here in the room, like just to watch him work. And so, but he did, I've got new voicemails for my cell phone and for my office also. And it's pretty, it was pretty amazing just to kind of watch them work and do their thing. They were very specific about no products at all, and that includes brand names, including ours.
Yeah, we tried.
I tried. I even tried to get real creative with it too, and it didn't quite work out. But it was really cool to watch them work and to talk to some of those people in those lines who were doing like the VIP thing, which is like a private panel with those guys, whatever. It wasn't lost on me the impact that Transformers has had on several people, and that was really cool.
I just think it's always cool whenever voice actors do what they do.
Yeah,
when they're not just talking, when they do what they do, it's a very impressive thing.
They had a Twisted Tunes, which is a handful of people at the show. They did a reading of the Goonies script.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, and so I imagine something like that will happen in Denver as well. Yeah. But it was cool. I mean, it was just kind of seeing them work and do their thing, and how like Peter Cullen is very like. I mean, he's very motionless and things like that when he records, nothing, whatever. Frank Welker is a lot like Mark Hamill. Like, he just kind of
takes into the character.
Yeah, he basically becomes Megatron. And so that was really fun. So if you ever have an opportunity to watch them do that, I would highly recommend it. They're going to be doing that at MegaCon as well. So
totally take advantage if you can, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else did we do Saturday?
Well, while you were doing that, I walked a lot and made decisions about dice and
dice. Let's talk about the dice, because this was a recurring thing all weekend. It's amazing on every level.
So, all right. So we'll start here. For one, shameless promote for another group of awesome individuals, Critical Role. Mm-hmm. Check them out. Google them. You won't be disappointed. But super long story short, I've been watching Critical Role for a while now, trying to get my brain wrapped around the game that is Dungeons and Dragons, because I've just never played it. I've never had enough friends to want to play it, and it's just it's just never been a thing. And I'm fascinated by it because I think it really brings back kind of our childhood of board games and spending time with your friends, playing a board game or a family or whatever. And so I'm just fascinated by this. So as we're walking around, I noticed a ton of dice because I guess tabletop gaming is really making a resurgence.
Yeah.
And as a result of seeing all of those, I just absolutely couldn't wrap my brain around why there were so many of them. And some of the dice were out of this world. Well, my wife makes fun of me for watching Critical Role. She says I'm a nerd, which obviously
clearly
I am. So I don't really take offense to it, but I thought, well, this is a perfect opportunity to troll her. So that's how it became a theme for the weekend.
Yeah.
I imagine it will be a theme at every con from now on.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Usually the trolling is #vegan_life, and we.
Oh, that happened too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened too. That happened too for sure. But in general, so I bought her a cup of dice. I bought her a $20 cup of dice.
Yeah.
Well, I keep telling her they're mine, but either way. 2 nights ago, she actually got them out and looked through them, which I thought was pretty cool. She was trying to understand it. But so that's really how it goes. But guys, if you appreciate craftsmanship on any level, from comics to talent to voicing, characters, whatever, if you are fascinated just by that aspect of things, check out some of the dice vendors, because some of them had some amazing things. I don't know if you were with me. I think you were in line to talk to maybe a comic artist or something, and I had walked off on Sunday and was doing just some live video, and stopped at Level Up Dice.
Okay.
They had a tungsten die.
Ooh.
And I mean, it was heavy.
Yeah.
And he goes, just roll it. And so when I dropped it, I was really worried I was going to break the glass. It didn't, because it landed in their little area, but super, super cool. And then he handed me a die that was moving around. It was like a D20 or whatever.
Okay.
It's moving around on the inside, but the whole thing has never been two pieces. So it was made as one, and then they laser etched it and cut it to where the interior is inside of the framework of the die, but it's all still technically one piece because it's never been pulled apart. But it rattled, and so like as you rolled it, the numbers would come up and come down. It was really fascinating, but they're not badly priced either. That was the thing that blew me away, is if I'm doing all this craftsmanship, I'm going to want some money, but I guess it's just, I don't know. It's a good price point, I guess. But some of the dice are super super cool to look at and super cool to own, I'm sure. And so maybe one day I'll get my wife into it, but until then I'm going to troll her with dice. But that's how that really came about, is she made a point to make fun of me about it, and so I thought, okay, I'll show you. But did it not seem to you like there was more of that?
Oh, yeah. There was, I think even at booths that weren't traditionally tabletop gaming, just like handcrafted goods booth, there were die.
Yeah.
Like that
if you get a leather bound book, there's dice right
exactly
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's crazy in a good way, because that means that another aspect of being who you are and being a nerd about something is coming back.
Yeah.
It went away, I think, for a little while, or it wasn't as popular, and it seems to be coming back. They had a room that we never made it to where that's what they were doing. They had an entire room at this convention set up for tabletop gaming.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a type of person that I want to pay that much money to go sit and play a game, but for the people that want to do that, amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like you said, like there were just everywhere, and some of the quality, there's that, the real wood die. Like I kept referencing, like, where's the redwood for whatever reason. I don't know why I was focused on redwood die.
He totally just missed the wange wood, which is an African hardwood.
Yeah,
it's very expensive.
It was, but yeah, it was really cool. And the thing is, like, that cup of dice for $20, that probably, from a value standpoint, one of the best deals on the floor, I think.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you don't care about matching set and materials and layout of dice, like if you just need a set, that cup of $20 or for $20, absolutely worth it, because I ended up with 4 full sets, potentially 5.
Yeah.
And
so you had that part of it, but some of the craftsmanship were just like, I mean, you pick them up and there's real weight to them, and there's real, like, this is not your Walmart dice. Like,
you feel like you're going to roll and be involved in the game enough to really roll some good rolls. And it was a very neat thing. Yeah. And, I have a lot of respect for people that dedicate their time to do Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop gaming, because I think it's a lost art form. I mean, we get caught up with video games. Even us in this room, we play more video games than anything else. And having a little one at home, I want to get back to the 80s, 90s, and playing tabletop games, and skip bow and that kind of stuff.
Because like, especially Dungeons and Dragons, like, there's so much imagination in it.
I agree.
That you don't like. That you really like. Video games are pretty mindless, and you think, I love video games. That's not a knock. Like, sometimes I need a mindless video game.
Everybody does, yeah. Everybody needs a mindless thing.
But it's like you hear these stories about Dungeons and Dragons, things like that, and they have these characters, and if something happens to the character, like if your character dies, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, people like legitimately grieve them.
Yeah.
Like if something bad happens. So there's always the stories about like, my character died, and then so they start another character or whatever, and they're so and so junior. They're here to avenge the death of that type of thing. Yeah. But I mean, I think there was a much more prominent presence for tabletop gaming this year than we've seen even in previous years.
And it seemed like there were not just the availability of it, but the amount of people that were at those booths. You know what I mean? Like from a purchasing standpoint, it didn't seem like they were being glazed over.
It almost seemed like the traditional physical comic book booths, like, I don't think I ever ran into like too much of a crowd, like where I had to wait to go through a long box. Like,
I agree
in
with
previous
that.
years, it has been that way.
Mm-hmm. And the only time that I did run into a crowd, it was just really a couple other people, but it was the Star Wars box.
Yeah.
Well, that's just a popular comic book at the moment, so that's gonna happen. But in general, I think you're right. I think there was more traffic at other items in other areas. But funny aside, real quick, to tie it all in. So, I buy these dice, talking about Dungeons & Dragons. I've been watching it. My daughter thinks she's watching Game of Thrones because I'm watching Dungeons & Dragons and she can't hear it because I have it in my earbuds. Obviously because they're adults playing a game and they have every right to say what they need to say, but I don't want my kid hearing it. And anyhow, super long story short, we're reading Spider-Gwen every night because that's what she wants to do. They're playing Dungeons & Dragons and Spider-Gwen.
Nice.
Score.
Parenting win.
Score. So, getting her into comic books and Dungeons and Dragons. You're welcome.
So, also on Saturday we did. What else was there Saturday?
Let's see, what else did we do?
Boy Meets World was Sunday.
Zach Levi Saturday?
No, that was Sunday. I think.
Was that Sunday?
It
was, because then it followed up. Yeah.
So there was. I did a Jim Lee signing. That was really cool, seeing him again and saying hello and getting some stuff signed and talking with him. That was fun. Let's talk about the cosplay that we saw, because there was a lot of it.
Yeah, there was a lot of really good, solid cosplay.
Yeah. Like there was like the super high detailed, like the hot girl was amazing. The one that we got that picture of. That one was awesome. But
I wish I would have taken a video of it, because the pictures you can see that the wings are folding in, but obviously they're pictures, so you kind of have to flip through them to get that impression. But I was in a hurry, and she looked like she was going to walk in, and so I was just trying to be quick about it. But yeah, totally a neat way to kind of do something with your kid. I mean, it was an adult kid, but her dad basically helped her construct everything and make the power source and all that stuff.
It was a drill battery, wasn't it?
That's what he said, like a couple drill batteries, And so super, super cool way to kind of get invested in your kids and support them while also helping them achieve something that they wanted to achieve. And it was like the perfect, I mean, we saw it from a mile away.
Oh,
like, hot girl, you know, and the fact that I knew that and I'm not a super big DC fan, I mean, that tells you something.
Two of my favorite cosplays was on Friday. There was the best Endgame Thor I've ever seen.
And you know what? I think we were so caught up with it that neither one of us took a picture or anything. But accent null.
Oh yeah, walking around.
Yeah, yeah.
And just
only thing he didn't have on was Crocs.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, he had sandals on. But yeah, holy cow, that was the most amazing Thor.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I didn't realize they're making a Funko Pop of that Thor.
I
saw it the
that's
other
one
day.
that I need.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked about Endgame yet. We will talk about Endgame next week. But other than the most amazing Thor I've ever seen, the Star Trek lightsaber guy.
Yes, and I guess they must have worn the same thing every day because they even had a picture with Jim Lee.
Okay.
And Jim Lee had a hold of the the lightsaber. So yeah, it was 2 Starfleet characters.
Yeah.
And one of them had a lightsaber through them.
Yep. And he was walking
Trek Wars.
Every time that I saw him, he was basically getting his picture taken, or somebody's holding something, getting their picture taken. Like he probably got stopped. I mean, hundreds of times throughout the weekend.
Well, when I caught up with them on Sunday, or maybe it was Saturday, they were helping another cosplayer fix her. I don't know, something had happened with her like shoulder armor or whatever it was that she has. Just kind of like a barbarian looking outfit. I'm probably killing what it was. It was probably Red Sonja or something.
Yeah.
But something had broken and they were helping. And so once that was done, I was like, hey, can I get a picture?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, absolutely. Can you take a picture of us together?
Yeah.
You got it, And so it was really pretty cool. And that's the kind of stuff that I like seeing, is just people having fun.
Yeah.
I did see near the 501st booth, there was I saw it on Friday, I think. There was a person who was wheelchair bound, and their entire wheelchair was a TIE fighter. It was huge.
Nice.
So I was like, that is awesome. That is amazing. Because, like, why wouldn't you be a pilot? You know what I mean? So cool. So cool.
And around that area, too, you had, like, the R2 builders and all those guys, and the R2s were running around. And they're, like, what I like about the R2 builders is they've become very stealthy about driving them on the floor.
Yeah.
Like, now it's, like, a very small, like, controller. So, like, he's just walking behind it. If you didn't really put the two together,
you might not know who's
You would know who's driving R2.
Well, and so I saw him, I want to say it was Sunday when I was waiting on you. He was walking down the outer area in the little walkway.
Yeah.
And I saw the guy walking. He's got his hand, he's got his hand on the remote, and I thought, well, okay, but how is it making the noises? Because I get the articulation and I get the driving.
Yeah.
How's it making the noises? And he had his phone in his hand when we saw him the day before.
Okay.
He was doing that on his phone. And so he was using his thumb, and he was making it do all of the different sounds.
Okay, it must be Bluetooth then.
Some sort of an interface that he has going on with like a Raspberry Pi or something.
Yeah.
And he's making it communicate that way as he's steering it. So
and there was
really cool.
There was one that was dancing before with a kid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite ones was one that's going down the main aisle, and it's playing "Staying Alive" from the Bee Gees.
Yeah. Yep. You know, the things that those R2 builders can do. I think it's astromech.net is what I think their website is. Check them out. The things that they do they're just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of electronics, time, expense. Some of those same people also make there's a guy that has made a Wall-E.
Okay.
A working Wall-E.
Yeah.
And that it's amazing what people are able to do.
Yeah.
And that's one of the parts about going on the cosplay side of things for Comic-Cons. Is it's a place that kind of gathers everybody.
Yeah.
And, you don't have to be the greatest cosplayer, most famous person ever to have, like, really high-quality stuff.
Yeah.
And get recognition for it. That's I think that's kind of the other piece of it that I like a lot. It seems, to me at least, that Comic-Cons in general are places where people want everybody to be happy and take care of each other.
It's the most inclusive place on the planet, I think.
Oh, I would agree with that, absolutely. Yeah. But when you even dissect it down a little bit further, from the general fan who wants to make sure that, like, we're okay if we fall or if we drop something.
Yeah.
From the honesty side of things. Then you get to the cosplay side of things, and it's like they're looking out for each other with their costumes because they want everybody to shine the same way.
Yeah.
Because even the professionals because there's always a cosplay area that are I guess you would consider them professional. Like, they get paid to be there. Even those individuals, at least to me, compliment other cosplayers. They seem to recognize the effort and the time that it takes, and I don't know, it's a neat way to experience kind of the world.
Yeah.
And people's fanboys and fangirls and nerdist stuff, and
absolutely. I might
that.
Fanboy over, like, Jim Lee.
Right.
Somebody might fanboy over a cosplayer. Like, that's
I mean, and one of the main cosplayers. I want to say she's been at like every single one that we've been to. Is it Leanna Vamp? Is that her name?
Yeah, I think she just goes by Vamp now.
Vamp.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, every time I've not ever talked to her personally, but every time I've seen her interact with somebody, because you inevitably make your way around them constantly as you're walking the con. It's genuine. It's excited. They're excited you're here. You're excited they're here for you. It's just it's a mutual thing, and she's a relatively famous cosplayer from what I can tell.
She's like almost at every show we go to.
Exactly, and she even now has kind of a network of cosplayers under her that I believe they call the Fiends. And so, with that in mind, I mean that to me says a lot about the type of person that she is.
Yeah.
To want to attract that many people to want to be with her at cons and around, just it's genuine.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm really trying to say.
And credit goes to Fan Expo for bringing in the cosplayers that are not the, I don't want to call them fake, but like who are there basically just to make a dime.
Right.
Don't really care about the fans, things like that. Like Fan Expo has long had a great track record of bringing in solid guests, both celebrities and cosplayers, things like that, of people who enjoy being around at the con, being a fan, doing those things. That certainly. Because they do a lot of feedback stuff, like when they're done. Like, it's like good interactions, bad interactions, whatever. So, Saturday was a super long day. We walk around the corner, and we run into Nick Filardi, who is randomly. Nick is the colorist on the Realm and stuff like that. So we got to talk to him for a while. We do have an interview with him, so we'll drop that audio probably here the next day or so for that interview. And so that was a lot of fun talking to him about things.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And so we did that, and then Saturday night was more hamburgers and
hashtag vegan life.
Yep, that and some live PD, and then Sunday worked out from a scheduling standpoint. I had the only thing I really wanted to get to was the Jim Lee panel, but we had several panels ahead of time.
Yeah, it worked out to where we were sitting most of the day, which was kind of a nice recovery.
Yeah, so we started with the panel. We jumped into the middle of the panel with the It Kids, and I could only take so much of that. They were very...
They're kids.
They're
kids. Excited.
Wait, there's one.
Yeah.
There is one. And then so there was that. But we were there, so we we saw a Boy Meets World panel, at least part of it.
I think we caught like the tail end.
Yeah,
of it,
so I can't remember which order the schedule
went in. So it was
like
the kids from it, and then it was Zach Levi, I believe.
I think you're right about that.
And then something happened. We left, or something occurred, and then we came into the Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
And then I sat in for Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Totally worth it. So glad I did. And then you went to Jim Lee at some point.
I went to the Jim Lee panel, which was
I feel like
always
we're
fun.
leaving something out on that, though.
Which part? Like, I want to talk about the Zach Levi panel, though.
Go ahead.
The Zach Levi panel is he doesn't use a moderator. Mm-hmm. He goes straight to audience questions. Mm-hmm. He's massively entertaining, emotional at times.
Yeah.
Like, he reminds me, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this. He is a less enthusiastic John Barrowman.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
I mean, very genuine. He loves his fans, you can tell.
I could see that.
He just has a great time with it, and there is a great podcast that he's done with Michael Rosenbaum on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast called Inside of You. If you really kind of want to get to the core of Zach Levi and kind of how he operates, and talking about Shazam and things like that, listen to those two things. What was interesting during his panel is he's like I tested for a different part in Shazam.
He wasn't even going for Shazam.
He's like he didn't want he didn't think he was, because they were eventually he's going to go up against Black Adam, which is The Rock, and he's just like, hey, speaking of Jim Lee, he just went live on Twitch, but he had it was a really good panel, very.
Sure. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. Not having ever heard Zach Levi speak necessarily in a panel. I absolutely enjoyed it. I mean, he seems to really enjoy the fans.
Yeah.
Seems to be energetic enough to keep them, energized. He's not just kind of like up there like, yeah.
It's a show,
yeah.
for him. Yeah.
And it was neat. His point of view on things seems to be kind of in line with how I view a lot of things. So
yeah.
I can appreciate that.
It certainly, that was also the panel that probably the first panel that we saw that had the sign language group.
Oh yeah.
And so we see them
we'd been in a couple and we hadn't seen them.
We see them at every con. And man, like the amount of work that they go through, it's got to be exhausting by the time the weekend's up. It's always the same pair of ladies who are always doing it, having a great time. So obviously, shout out to them for doing that.
Yeah, I wish we knew the name of their organization. We could definitely give them a shout out.
Yeah. So that was fun. when we went into when we were in the Boy Meets World panel, a lot of people were talking about how much that show meant to them and what they did. And then, you can tell they still really enjoy each other's company and talking and hanging out with each other.
Sure.
I don't think any of them have really aged.
The crazy thing is you can tell that they're older, but they all still look the same to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they've aged like we have aged. Like, I still feel like I look like I did in high school. I'm just a little bit older, and have facial hair. And so it's just interesting, And what I thought was really interesting about that panel, even though we came in at the end of it, was that the fans that were in there for that panel really are fans of the show. And articulated some very powerful messages about how something as simple as that TGIF show that was there, or whatever. I guess maybe it was Saturdays, but either way, it's the show in general. My point is how impactful that show was, and it just really shows you that part of the reason people get so nerdy about things is because the things that they like and the things that they're passionate about, it strikes a nerve with them.
Yeah.
Potentially helps them through a dark place, helps them recognize who they really are or what they're really into and kind of break the mold or the stereotype that they might be feeling like they're being put into. And so it's really a pretty neat thing to hear people say that. The same thing happened with the Karate Kid panel, but I'm jumping ahead with that in mind. But it's just, I don't know. It was a neat thing to hear, I kind of feel like Zach Levi's panel was the same way. While he's not been maybe in things long enough to be as impactful yet, I think that's still to come. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I mean, he goes back to Chuck, and it's crazy to think how long ago Chuck was, but
right.
There was certainly that piece of it. So,
and Chuck is relatively new compared to Boy Meets World.
Oh yeah.
And so when you think about it in that context, what I mean is, I think that the passage of time makes those characters more impactful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And since they refreshed the show with Girl Meets World for
that
2 or 3
too.
seasons, they brought that back. But
absolutely.
So the Karate Kid panel, like you were super stoked about the Karate Kid panel. Yeah.
I was, man. The Karate Kid group of people, for me, that is my childhood.
Yeah.
And while I watched He-Man and G.I. Joe and all that and Batman the Animated Series, the Karate Kid, I always would come back to that. And Karate Kid Part 2 is my favorite, primarily because you get to see the Japanese side of Karate Kid, so to speak. But I always identified with the Karate Kid, not because of anything necessarily that went on in my life, but just, I don't know, I just did. It was who I was. And I could see attributes of my dad and Mr. Miyagi, you know what I mean? And just different things. And it was really cool to see them on a panel 2 rows away from me and I'm watching them talk. I mean, that to me was powerful. And then to hear how much that show affected the fans that were there was pretty powerful too. I mean, I have a black belt in Taekwondo. I didn't necessarily get it because of the show, but I definitely would say that was an influencer. There were people there that literally said, because of this show, I have been studying martial arts since I was 6, or whatever. And that to me is powerful because that's a life of dedication, and to hear just how sometimes, people love the story of, a kid who really had no reason winning.
Yeah.
He won everything, and I don't know. It was just very powerful. And the irony of the Karate Kid is like most of the newer movies follow that same genre. So, Fast and Furious is basically Karate Kid with cars. You know? And it's interesting to me. But The thing that I thought was probably the funniest of it all was the fact that none of them liked Karate Kid 3. Which, I mean, 2 of them were in, you know, and it's very interesting to me that they didn't like that. You know, obviously, and then from being from Tulsa, we are, or at least I am, a big fan of The Outsiders.
Yeah.
And with, you know, one of the characters from that show also there, that was pretty cool too, because unfortunately whenever they did the Outsiders house tour and they brought some of the actors here, I wasn't able to attend, but it's just I'm excited about where Cobra Kai is taking Karate Kid, because you're seeing the other side of it. And it was just, like I said, it was a childhood dream to see him. It's like seeing Mark Hamill again. You know, that's Luke Skywalker to me 100 days out of the year, you know, or 365 days out of the year, whatever. And to see him in Dallas and then now Karate Kid, it's like, I don't know what else I'm going to do from now on.
Yeah.
At this point, I got to get a new idol or something. Yeah.
It was really good. I mean, it was... And here's the thing, the panels that we're talking about are just the panels that we went to.
Yeah.
That is a small fraction of what panels are actually available at a show like that.
One of the ones we didn't make it to is the Back to the Future panels.
Yeah.
There was just no way. I mean, the amount of people and then scheduling on our part, there was just no way we could do it. But just amazing stuff.
It's just... Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. But like I said, so if you're looking at considering going to a show or something like that, just know that these 5 or 6 big panels we're talking about, small portion. We didn't get to a single sketch duel this year. Those are always entertaining.
No. And that is something that absolutely will show you people's talent.
Yeah.
Because, what is it, 30 minutes, 45
minutes?
30,
40 minutes, yeah.
And it's a random thing.
Yeah.
It's not even
They don't even know what they're going to be drawing when they get in there.
Yeah, it's so impressive. I think we saw, was it Buzz one year that we saw?
Yeah, Buzz was, And
then we saw Jim Lee, but it wasn't really a sketch duel. It was like a panel last year.
Yeah.
Holy cow, man. That is, I will tell you right now, that is probably one of the more impressive aspects of being an artist.
Yeah.
Is on the fly, they're just creating these amazing things. Mm-hmm. It's just so cool.
It's very cool. So, so we get into Sunday, we're done, pretty much done, saying bye to people, things like that. I'm walking on the show floor, and up what's next to me is Jeff Loeb.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so he walks next to me, he's kind of standing there looking around, has his assistant with him, and I just kind of look at him, I'm just like, how on earth is it someone like you can just walk this floor? Now, here's the thing, Jeff Loeb maybe is a name you recognize if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or any Marvel property whatsoever, like especially the Netflix Marvel stuff. Jeff Loeb, his name is on almost everything. He also co-wrote Batman Hush. So I know who he is. Mm-hmm. But if he's going to get recognized, it's going to be at a con thing. Like he had a Jeff Loeb VIP thing and all that other stuff that they did. And I'm just like, how are you walking on the floor? And he just looks at me. He's like, man, sometimes I just don't know.
But the fact that you could have that conversation is part of the reason why Comic-Cons are so cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. For 30 seconds, I talked to Jeff Loeb,
And the thing is there have been years where we've gone to Dallas and we've been eating breakfast and we're looking around and like George Takei is sitting at the bar eating breakfast.
Yeah.
Anthony Daniels is sitting at a table by himself eating breakfast. So naturally,
like a real human.
Yeah, and like then we go to a different. There was one time, I think maybe it was Kansas City. I don't know. One of the other cons we went to at one point, there was an artist that Jared had talked to.
Yeah,
he's sitting there eating breakfast. I mean, you forget that these people are people, and naturally when you see Anthony Daniels or George Takei, you want to fanboy and run up to him, but then it's like. You got to pause. You got to hit that break a little bit and recognize that they might not want to be bothered right now.
And very few people ever break that rule at a con like that.
I agree.
There is such a level of respect. I think that for most people are there now. If someone's in the hotel, they're not there for the con, and they see somebody,
they may not know.
They may not know, but there's a great deal of respect for that. It did.
Well, and who was the Batman artist that was sitting at the table that we saw? Who was that?
Neil Adams.
Yeah. Yeah, same kind of deal. It's not like people don't know who he is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's always nice to see that.
Yeah. So, it was a interesting weekend, went in with very little, at least for us, other than a couple interviews and some good press coverage for you guys and things like that. Didn't really have much really goals, in terms of what we really wanted to accomplish other than the press related stuff, nothing personal that you really want. end up knocking out several things off my to-do list.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted the Shakespeare head from Batman, snagged one of those.
Got it.
I've always wanted a Jim Lee Batman, snagged one of those. And through a various, this is a story that may never be told, but talked with a Batman a former Batman artist, Patrick Gleason.
As of Sunday, I guess.
As of by the time we left the con.
Yeah.
Basically, and because I have had several of his artwork and had a good interaction with him and was able to acquire something I've been after for quite some time.
Yep. It's very cool.
And then a couple hours after we leave, it's announced he is now a Marvel exclusive.
Who would have thought?
I know.
It's so crazy.
And he is Marvel exclusive, and he's going to be working on Amazing Spider-Man.
Amazing. Can't wait.
So,
time for me to pick up some Spider-Mans.
Because he did Batman and Robin. He did Robin, Son of Batman. He did Superman, or the new Rebirth Superman.
Yep. Which was that what you had that you were going to potentially? Well, I mean, you were hoping to give it to him.
Yeah.
And is that what you had?
Yes.
Was the Rebirth?
That was Rebirth 1, page 1.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very cool.
And did that. And so, but he also wrote. He doesn't just draw; he writes too. So, he, writer and artist, and super cool interaction. Good to see him. And like I said, now he's going to be working on Amazing Spider-Man. So, going to have to
start picking up some Spider-Man.
Add some Spider-Man to the old pull list to see what it was. And so, it's always cool for people who you get to know their work and you talk with them occasionally and things like that. To have it's always cool to see people and talk to them and stuff like that. Like I said, there was a lot of really great artists at this show. Like, I could have gone completely bananas at that show.
Oh, for sure. Just with the sheer number of artists that were there, and then just everything else. I mean, absolutely.
The first opportunity I've ever had to meet Scott Williams, who's Jim Lee's inker, and I thought his line was busy the entire weekend, except for when Jim Lee was signing, and just by some sheer miracle, I'm like, if there's any time I'm gonna get to Scott Williams, it's now.
Right.
And so I literally go out of line from Jim Lee, and I went straight over Scott Williams, and there was one person in line talking to him about something, and then they left, and I sat there talked to them. He signed a page for me, and added a Batman head, like a side profile head thing to my Batman commission collection.
Very cool.
I was stoked about that. That was one I didn't know if I'd ever get, but overall, I don't think we can oversell this show. I don't think it's possible.
I don't think so either.
There's a lot of time you spend walking the floor and you think, I'm going to walk this floor 300 times. Yes, you will. But every time you're going to find something different. You're going to run into somebody else. You're going to see whatever. So this show and Fan Expo as a whole is... They know how to run a show. This isn't Wizard World and what they've turned into.
Right.
Fan Expo knows how to run a show. And so if you have the opportunity to go to any Fan Expo show, like Boston, Canada, Dallas, MegaCon, all of those, it is a great opportunity to do so.
Oh, I agree. I absolutely agree. And I think from my point of view, Cav's been to a lot other shows than I have. This was the first show I ever went to as an adult. I had done Wizard World as a teenager and kid and all that stuff, but this is the first true convention that I went to, true con that I went to. I'm going back every year as long as my schedule dictates it.
Yep. And that's the thing. This show was the first con I also went to as an adult several years ago at this point, 4 or 5 years ago, but it was it's always run so well, and even when they are crowded and stuff like that, they're always trying to accommodate everybody, and they always try and do everything for you. It is a great show. The VIP exclusives are top notch. We're not talking about a Wizard World random variant of a comic book. You're talking about a Mickey Mouse statue that's in gold that you can only get as a VIP. And so all of those things. So if you were on the fence about this, about going to that show, don't be.
No, it's totally worth the money. It's worth the time if you have it, because it's an experience you're not going to forget. The one thing that I will say that has always been top-notch to me, aside from all the other attributes of the show, is the volunteers. I mean, those people work their tails off, and they're always helpful. And they if you don't know something, they will direct you, or they'll let Cav tell you what to do because Cav knows everything. So, which was kind of funny.
That was pretty. That was. Yeah. I was standing in line for Jim Lee. I was the first person for the 5 o'clock group. They took the guys' volunteers away to run the line in by Jim Lee, but there's a line forming outside Jim Lee. So people are walking up to the table, and there's one guy, and it's only one guy, and there's and he's doing other stuff and doing other things. So I just start telling people what to do. I'm just like, 5 o'clock, yeah, VIP, nope, that's your line. 4 o'clock, you should have been in here 30 minutes ago. Like, it just kept going around. But it was... like you said, to the volunteers and everybody who runs that show,
of course,
like a huge thank you to them. Like they're the ones who really take care of their volunteers. This year is the first year that several of the volunteers, if they're traveling or whatever, they put them up in hotels.
Perfect.
Like they did a lot of great things. So it is a huge, shows don't run without volunteers.
Mm-hmm. Because it's just too big.
Yeah, and they are. A volunteer army is the way to put it. Orange shirts everywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, the fact that they're giving, because the thing is, they're fans in most cases too. They're not just doing it to do it.
Yeah.
So they're getting kind of some special access to things that they maybe otherwise wouldn't get. But they're spending their entire weekend doing it.
Yep.
And they're there long before we're there, and they're there long after we're gone. Because it's not just like they're going to say, "Okay, see ya, I'm out of here." They're tearing stuff down. They're getting things cleaned up.
One of the gentlemen who was running the Jim Lee line inside up by Jim Lee, he had to have been in his probably 60s or 70s. This is just what he does. He just volunteers at shows.
Yeah.
And just does stuff. He was hysterical.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's just no way around it. If you can't have a good show without good volunteers.
Yep.
You just can't.
And they have some of the best for sure. So March 27th through March 29th, 2020.
Okay.
You can book hotels now on Expedia. Our room is already locked in.
Nice.
So we are good to go there. So yeah, it is a great time, a great show. If it is something, obviously you guys saw a lot of us on Facebook and Facebook Live, and we'll post more pictures of stuff that we got and things like that over time. But it was a really great show. So definitely put that on your list of, in my opinion, top 5 show in the country.
Mm-hmm. By far.
Yep.
Yeah, by
and
far.
So,
simply from just the access point. I mean, it's just, it's in a nice place to be. There's a lot of stuff around there. If you go as a family, there's a lot to do. I mean, there are a lot of wins to this con that don't exist with others.
Correct. I would agree with that 100%. And a lot of cool con exclusives too.
Like always. And what I've noticed is they even extend that down to the premiums.
Yeah.
And so if you're not in that VIP price range for whatever reason, and you can swing a premium pass, do it, because you're still going to get some cool swag that otherwise you wouldn't get.
Yep. Very cool. So next up for us, we are in Denver in less than a month.
Yeah.
So we'll cover the Denver show there, and be blowing up your Facebook there. I was talking to my brother today. He's like, "Yeah, while you're gone, every time they're live again." Like, and so
really, what we're doing when we do that is we're checking in with our people here, so they know they don't have to bail us out. Okay?
That's true.
That's the running joke that we have is I don't do bail.
My mom does not do bail.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was a great show. Again, thanks to the vocal group for letting us do press for them and everything, and helping us out throughout the weekend and doing all of that, and then just to Fan Expo for running a really great show. The Omni Hotel, all that other stuff. I know this is sound like one giant ad for Dallas Fan Expo, but let's face it, it is, because our goal, like I said, everybody's nerdy about something, and people become nerds about new things when other people tell them about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we just want to communicate that if going to a con is something that you're kind of on the fence about, or you're looking for a new con to travel to, or something like that, is it worth it? Dude, a guy flew from New Zealand to Dallas for this show.
Yep.
And I mean,
and if that doesn't tell you the caliber of the show with regard to who they're bringing in, I don't know what else will.
Exactly. So, all right, this has been the Fan Expo Dallas recap for Gather the Nerds. We'll be back next week with our regular show. It should be fun. Going to talk about some Endgame, and that's going to be, and probably some Game of Thrones by that point. What episode? Are we on 5 or 6?
This is 5, so there's next
maybe
weekend there will be one more episode.
So we might talk about it. We might just have a giant spoilery episode at some
Starbucks
point.
cup.
Yeah, Starbucks.
Which apparently they've edited out.
They've edited it out now. It's terrible. Somebody else posted another Game of Thrones screenshot of a bunch of people standing around. I don't remember what. And Jaime Lannister is holding a teacup. Like
That's
that you
hilarious.
can see. And it's
there's
like
another. There's another still, and it was from like one of the earlier episodes this season where there's like this person standing in the far background, and you can just kind of make out their face. It's pretty creepy. It's
awesome.
pretty creepy.
All right, gang. This has been the Fan Expo Dallas recap. I'm Cav. That's Nick.
See you guys.
See you guys. Bye-bye.